Hi, my name's Dominique, and together with my team, we produce the content for our weekly Swisspreneur episodes. I hope you enjoyed today's show.
Aren't that many companies on TikTok yet, but I think it's crazy because it's the same thing as it was with Instagram. Like it took a lot of time for companies to really go on the app.
Welcome to the Swisspreneur Show, a podcast about startup stories and hands-on learnings from experienced entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Sylvan.
Yael, a very well welcome back to the Swisspreneur Show. It's great to have you again.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Today we're going to talk about Generation Z and also what companies can actually learn from this generation. But before we get started, I think it's important to also really know what Generation Z is and what is it not. Can you talk a bit more what Generation Z actually means?
So Generation Z are people that are born between 1995 and 2010, and they are not millennials. They are often compared to them, but they are not, and they are also not children anymore. So they are between the ages 10 and 25, and the youngest millennials are 26. So they are the next generation that enters job market and enters the business world. Mm-hmm. And that's also like why they are really relevant.
Absolutely, yeah. So many companies need, whether they want it or not, think about that topic and that generation, basically. So I would also, usually we start talking about common mistakes. You've seen different companies. You always had like 3 careers, as we discussed in the first episode. What mistakes do you see companies doing or making when dealing with the Generation Z?
So they are some. For example, it's reading reports and taking insights for facts, even though it's just technical or too obvious. And that's one thing. Or also they base all their assumptions on conversations they have with their children on the dinner tables. Mm-hmm. And they are often, those assumptions are biased after that. And they also customer behavior is something dynamic. So if you sell to Gen Z, it only makes sense to involve them in product development and a selling process.
Right.
And I think that's some mistakes they do.
So from your experience, what should actually companies do and how should they actually involve the Gen Z in the selling process, for example?
I think it's the most important thing is to involve them in working together with them and talking to Gen Z and not talking about them. So talking to the customers themselves.
Do you think that it's also important not only to just talk to them, but really having them as employees?
Yes, I think that's super important. Also giving them the chance to bring in their opinions and their thoughts and how they look at products.
And when I think talking to people that are a bit older than the Gen Z, they usually say, this generation is so different from what I'm used to. Do you also hear that phrase often?
Yes, that's a common phrase. But I think young people are different than young people some years ago, or some many years ago. Mm-hmm. And I think they really want to help companies or they want to bring themselves in and change. They want to bring changes. And I think that's a huge difference and why they should be taken seriously.
Can you maybe elaborate a bit more about that difference to older generations? What shifted over time from your perspective?
So I think one big difference is that Gen Z grew up with social media and with the internet. So right. It comes natural to us. And that's one huge difference. Also, we've always been online. We are the real digital natives. And one other thing is taking action. I think the generation really wants to change something in the world. For example, we see that with the climate change discussions, or the Fridays for Future, and young people who push that movement. And like those two components together are in like the combination of being activistic and being online. We can now really see on TikTok, for example, because right now there's so much footage of the protests in the USA regarding George Floyd, and there are Gen Z go, they demonstrate, then they film and they post about it. And I think that's how we really see the potential or the Gen Zs.
But then still, you know, many companies, they have difficulties to really unleash the full potential of this generation. What would you recommend them to do as a setup? How can they really, you know, work well and also successfully together with the Generation Z?
I think it's really important to give Gen Z a mission, because they are really purpose-driven, and to help them unleash their full potential. And for example, Ringier really did that with me, with my time at Ringier. When I went there, I was 17, and they really wanted me to help me I really could be creative and bring in all my ideas, and for example, when last year there were the national elections, and then I could concept and do a project for Ringier. It's called Soda, where we wanted young people to go to vote. Want to bring young people to go to vote, and Ringier really wanted to help young people and help me, and I could really bring in my insights and do this project there.
What was so motivating for you at this project Soda, for example, that, you know, really made you go above and beyond, basically?
Was Ringier really believed in me and really they just let me do, and they knew that what I did there was best for them, and because I really understood what young people wanted. And also, and Soda was turned out to be a big success, and there was a great experience. And I think companies should really they should really see the potential in their young employees, and where they can bring their knowledge in.
Right. So I try to summarize that, do you know, because we always like to give people a 3-bullet plan where they can start, for example. So you say it's important that you give them a purpose, and that you also let them do, and also appreciate them in actually what they do.
Yes.
Would these be the 3 points that you
Yes, great on? 3 points.
So how could we then go a bit deeper? Okay, purpose is very important. I think that's also what many sort of realized about the Gen Z, where they say, hey, they are purpose-driven. Purpose is super important to them. But what does that actually mean? How do you get to that point where you can align the purpose of the company with the purpose of the generation?
I think it's even the purpose of the person.
Okay.
So they really want to change something even inside a company. They want to bring the company further, and they want to have responsibility as well. And they want to see where their path inside a company could go, and want to be taken seriously by their bosses or by the company itself.
And the second point, just letting them do. You know, many people might think, okay, you have to be really careful with them, with the Generation Z, and just, you know, help them wherever you can. This might not be the best idea to do, right?
Yeah, I think that's a common misunderstanding, because I think that young people can do much more than you would give them. And to just help them realize their ideas, and helps the company a lot.
Is there any specific tip, maybe also from your time at Ringier, where you said, hey, this was actually a really good empowerment. They just let me do without limiting factors, and you've seen other limiting factors somewhere else or at other companies where you say, this is probably the way not to do it?
Maybe it was always when I came up with a new idea, they thought about it and they let me do a conception about it. And I think that's in other companies, young people are often just the ones who do the internships or are paid less than others, and they in traditional companies that there's still the thought of you have to climb the ladder until you can take responsibility. And I think that could be an important factor, that you give responsibility to young people as well, and help them find out what they can do best, and also accept if they make some mistakes maybe, and help them to do better next time.
That's a very good point, because if you let people do, then it's absolutely normal, natural that there will also be mistakes.
Yes.
Still many companies, or also maybe older generation, I'm not sure if that's a cliche, but that's what people say, have more issues or a harder time accepting these failures or mistakes. How would you recommend, companies to go about that? How do you successfully deal with a mistake that happened by a younger generation employee?
I think it's important to still give this employee responsibility and not just take it away afterwards, but maybe really talk about what went wrong and look at it from an outside perspective, so they can do it better next time.
Right. Is there any situation or mistake that comes to mind when you think about your time back at Ringier, where you say, "Oh, this really didn't work out as planned"?
I mean, there were some when I did so many different things at Ringier as well, but especially in the beginning when I had to start learning how to do everything, there were some, but not too bad mistakes.
Okay, so it wasn't like a big discussion point then.
No.
And the third point that we also mentioned on the checklist was really this sort of appreciation, also feedback in general. How does that show in practice? How do you actually, provide good feedback and also valuable feedback, but also appreciation to a Gen Z member?
I think that also comes with giving them responsibility and letting them do. I think that's the conclusion of the other two things, that you appreciate and that you really want them to involve and to help the company with their insights, with their young knowledge they have. And also for example, if you do a product for young people, for Gen Z or for young people, it only makes sense that you have a young person in the team and take their insights seriously.
Is there any particular way of how you actually appreciate feedback? Is it like face to face? Do you prefer a written positive or negative feedback? What's the preferred way of communication there?
I think direct communication is always the best.
And another point that many people mention about Gen Z is that they are a bit impatient, that they want to have results overnight and are not willing to invest enough time to actually produce and build something. What is your perspective and understanding of that sort of quote?
I don't see it that way. Gen Z really sees the purpose or the mission. They are willing to invest a lot of time to really bring that project to success. Yeah, I think that's the most important thing for them as well, to really bring in their potential in a company.
So now we talked about how to lead Gen Z, and another important point is actually how do you win them over as employees in the first place? How do you actually attract them to your company before they even start working for you? Do you have any recommendations on that topic?
You won't get them by trying to attract them with a high salary. So a high salary is not the most important thing for Gen Zs. And also they need a vision they can identify with, like a company vision.
Do you have a good example for one that is appealing?
Maybe companies that are, for example, a sustainable, or that's just an example, is a company that pushes sustainability and wants to make the world a better place. But also other companies can have like such a vision.
And there sometimes, companies say that, but don't actually do it. Is there a difference for the Generation Z, or, maybe they don't even realize that in the beginning? A company says, we make the world a better place, but actually they don't. It just sounds good. When is that becoming a problem for the Gen Z?
I think as soon as they realize that there's a problem or that the vision it's not close enough to their visions, I think they will realize and would want to change probably.
And then the change will probably be them leaving the company, not changing the company, most likely, I guess.
Yeah, it could be.
So we talked about how you actually attract, Gen Z employees for your company. You mentioned vision, not so much salary driven. What else comes to mind?
Gen Z, that's something we had before. Like Gen Z wants to grow fast and they want to work in a company that helps them unlock their full potential. So I think that's also an important thing.
What does that exactly mean? It doesn't necessarily mean just climbing the career ladder and getting promoted, right? It's probably much more in the purpose of the job and what you can actually do and what new skills that you can learn.
Yes, exactly. And to bring in their ideas and their potential and been taken seriously and involved in projects and also inside projects that their opinions are being discussed and yeah.
So basically just being heard.
Being heard, yeah.
Very simple actually, but probably hard to find in practice.
Yes, because I think young people are, as mentioned, just still have to climb the career ladder or in project teams, the youngest person is mostly over 30, or it still is young, but it's not maybe not the customer.
Do you think that this is just a pure age problem? That people in the higher roles, so to say, just need to have a certain age, but the skills that they have could actually also be served by the younger generation?
It depends. I think even young people can be leaders and can be in higher positions, but also, of course, you need experience and you need to know how to lead a company.
And that's something that you don't have as a young generation yet because you lack the experience.
I think it depends. I think it's not only. I think even if you're young, you can have higher roles in companies, and because you see the needs from another perspective, or maybe even better than older people or older generations what customers want or what the company needs. Right. But it's not just because it's not something you can replace, I think.
Okay.
I think it depends on the company structures as well.
I mean, for your case, for example, you have like 3 different careers that you already did at age 20. So you bring plenty of experience for such a role, I would say.
Yes.
But others might not be there yet. So yeah, it probably really is a case-specific decision. At the same time, if you are promoted young, usually you also have to then lead people that are probably older than you are. For some, that is a problem. Have you ever experienced or heard about any of that tricky situations?
Yes, I've heard a lot about it, but I think that's becoming more and more common that it could be that way. Right. But I think it shouldn't be a problem for everyone, because the most important thing is to do a good job and to bring the company forward. And if that's a younger person in the lead, I think should be the way it is.
So look for the best decision and the best outcome for the company, not on a personal level.
Yes.
So now we talked about the employees of like Gen Z being your employees, but oftentimes they're also customers. So how do you actually win them over as customers if you sell a product that is attracting them?
I think there's not a general formula for it, but Gen Z is very reactive to brands, and they want a product they really can believe in. For example, do you know the company Supreme?
No.
So it's a clothing brand that has a huge success for young people, and they everyone wanted to wear Supreme. So they sold their clothes in small quantities, and I knew so many friends who always at 12 o'clock on Thursdays they put on their new clothes, and all my friends were on their computers trying to get some of these clothes, because on online page they weren't too expensive, but if you wanted to buy them somewhere else, they were super expensive. And that's for example a brand everyone wanted to be part of it.
But why was that the case, that it was so appealing to Gen Z? Was it because there weren't enough enough products that they were actually selling, which actually also drove exclusivity into price? Or what made it so appealing to the younger generation?
I think it was the exclusivity, but also the brand and what the brand stood for, because like all stars wore it and you saw it on your social medias, and it was really special if someone had a piece of this brand. So the brand really had a good strategy on how to attract young customers.
That's fascinating, because it's such another marketing game than you're used to from the big name companies, right?
Yes.
Is there anything that you think, okay, this is something that you could just copy paste or apply and learn for your own business if you were in the clothing industry, for example? Like, do you think it would make sense to copy their distribution model and limit the quantities?
I mean, many companies do that right now. For example, On as well, with their new sneakers they have. You're wearing Honest as well. they have just small quantities of their new sneakers, and it's the same model as well. So I think it really works for young customers, or for customers maybe in general.
And social media seems to play a very important role in the whole sales and marketing game for actually winning over Gen Z as clients. Which platforms are relevant at the moment for the younger generation from your perspective, and why?
Really important is TikTok, and I'm impressed myself how much important it gained over the last month, so in quarantine especially. And I think it's even more important than Instagram, or it's starting to be more important. It's like when Instagram came up and everyone switched from Facebook to Instagram, and now everyone's switching to TikTok because it's a very interesting platform where it's just more entertaining than Instagram was.
In what way? Like, for somebody who has never seen or heard about TikTok, what makes it so different and special compared to Facebook and Instagram?
So it's super addictive, and there are only 7 seconds, there are only short videos on the app, and the average is 15 seconds. So they are going from 15 seconds to 1 minute, and it's just the way they have. So TikTok is actually some kind of a tech company, you can say, because they have a crazy algorithm behind it, and they really know what you want to see, and they play you exactly the videos that make you addicted to the app. And everyone wants to post videos on their own, because they could go viral with their posts all the time. So it's just a completely new app, and it seems that it's growing. It's the fastest growing and fastest downloaded app, I think. Yeah.
Crazy. So you really have to pay attention. So, yes. But the algorithm is different. The pure focus on videos makes it super addictive. Exactly. Isn't that also sort of a risk that you then spend more and more time in the app and just don't want to get rid of it anymore?
Yes, it is. I see that with my little brother, for example. It's super addictive to him as well. but that's exactly what TikTok wants, or what I think it's also an important place for marketing for companies now, that so many young people are on the app and they spend hours and hours on it.
What is the typical user that is on TikTok in terms of age and gender?
I don't know it with the statistics, but
just
I think
rough average.
Yeah, I think it's like 14 to 15 years, and male and female are similar, I think. But it's a very, very young audience there, and it's starting to get older, I think, now that it's gaining more popularity.
Right.
But still, it's very young.
Same as what happened to Facebook, right?
Yes.
Now all of our parents, maybe even grandparents, are on there.
Yes, it's also funny when I talk to friends. They're always like, "Oh, what, you're using TikTok? Who does that?" Yeah. But with young people like 12 or 13-year-olds, they don't even have an Instagram account.
Right.
And yeah, that's why we also with Seam, we started a TikTok channel during the quarantine to really understand what young people do there and what drives them there.
Are there any key takeaways or learnings from your time on TikTok so far?
It's interesting to see how different young people are and how they react with the content on the platform. And they are really, they post a lot, they comment a lot, they like a lot. And yeah, that's interesting to see.
So the engagement rate is much higher than you're used to from other platforms.
Yes, definitely.
So the game really is changing in social media.
Yes, it is changing. Also, the contents that are most popular on the app are different than ever before, I think.
Okay,
and also,
what's the popular content from your perspective?
It's also right now, it's a lot with the demonstrations in the USA. So it's somehow political, or it can be political.
Right.
And young people really engage there in comments and are building communities.
So this is just that if you cannot meet in person, you meet there basically and have your community right in TikTok.
Yes, but actually TikTok bans is blocked that young people can text message on the app, because they wanted to save them because of older people who text young people.
Yeah, I think that's an important safety measurement. Absolutely.
Yes, probably, but it stops young people from texting on TikTok. I don't know if that's good for the app, because most people are young on there.
Right. Let's also talk a bit about, this whole social media shift and what it actually means for companies. So if a company wants to win clients or sell their products to TikTok audiences, what should they do? Where should they get started?
I think now's the best time to really start with an own channel. That's also there aren't that many companies on TikTok yet, but I think it's crazy, because it's the same thing as it was with Instagram. It took a lot of time for companies to really go on the app. And I think to produce special content that has a purpose and that has a meaning that young people can follow and learn, because that's important. That's important for them. It's not just stupid, funny videos. It's also about learning and about seeing new stuff and new interesting stuff.
Is there a channel that you think does an especially good job on that?
It's funny, because there's a new kind of companies in the USA. They're called hype houses, and they're not traditional normal companies. They bring creators together and create TikTok channels where they push them. But it's a company, because they still profit of the creators on their channels. So I think they're doing a great job, and I think companies could also go in such a direction, not only posting about the shoes they have or the watches they sell, but also somehow bring in a different view on their products.
And again, very much purpose driven to really appeal to the younger generation,
yes,
right?
Yes, exactly.
So you should start your own company channel on TikTok right now. You should create purpose-driven content that is also not only always funny, but also, meaningful in a certain way. What else should companies do? Should they also do paid ads on TikTok or any of that sort?
I don't know if that's possible yet. I've never seen an ad on TikTok, actually. I've seen creators who do ads, so influencers, but it's super low key and not common yet. But I think that will start soon as well. So I think it's just important to stay close to the app and see how it evolves.
And yeah, also having this testing mindset, I guess, just,
yes.
Testing out and learning what actually sticks.
Yes.
And ideally, maybe they should hire a Gen Z employee to handle that for the company.
Of course. But that's also what companies do, I think. For social medias, they hire young people, but not for other parts of companies.
Is there anything else that you'd recommend to companies in terms of, getting active on TikTok or also on other social media channels to really be appealing and attractive for the younger generation?
I think it's important to produce content for young people and not, or the way young people would produce content and not just for young people. That's what I would say.
How do you actually get there? By just hiring them and letting them do it for you? Or is there also another way?
Another way would be by consuming a lot of TikTok or of Instagram, or to be really where the young people are, but also to talk to young people and let them help.
Another platform that you're pretty active on is LinkedIn, besides TikTok. Why do you choose LinkedIn to create posts and engage with users there? What's the benefit that you get from that platform?
LinkedIn really helps us with SEAM. So it's the platform where we post our observations about Generation C and what we experience, and it's really the number one platform where we also do marketing for our company. Yeah.
So that's basically also a customer acquisition channel for you.
It is. So, yes, it is. So.
Do you have any success tips about how people can improve their LinkedIn game?
I think it's important to post a lot and also to post what experiences you have or thoughts you have, and try to see different things, or maybe to find your own little corner or niche. Yeah, to find a niche, and it's important to find a niche where you see what you can talk about.
Right. And by posting a lot, would that mean daily or even multiple times a day?
Actually, I take that back. I don't even post a lot that much, but yeah, I think frequency is important for in the beginning, right. Especially.
And I also saw that you do quite a lot of videos also, pretty
yes.
personal videos. So would you also recommend to use more video content on LinkedIn?
Yes, definitely. I think that's also on LinkedIn a new path they really want to push. Yeah. As on TikTok, video is the most important new thing, I think.
Absolutely. And then in terms of the text, do you prefer, or what works better from your perspective, long form text in like the text combined to the video, or do you prefer shorter text?
I always prefer shorter text and to bring on point what you want to say right away.
And then the last point maybe for the LinkedIn part is many people, they just tag a lot of other people in the organizations. Is that something you also tested out?
I didn't test that out yet.
Why not? Is it just not attractive to do so?
Yeah, I think for me, I don't see the point in just tagging randomly someone or someone else, but if who you're tagging is related to what you're writing about, I think that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, otherwise it can get pretty annoying if yes. people tag you all the time and you don't really have any relation yes. to the post. Awesome. So is there anything else? I mean, I think we talked about plenty of, how to win Gen Z as clients, customers, but also as employees and how to lead them. Is there anything else that you would like to add that we have not talked about yet?
It's interesting to see that young people are starting new things. For example, We saw that with the sharing economy back in the crisis, in the economic crisis. Suddenly the thought came up of not possessing something but sharing it, and that back then it was also the young people who pushed that forward, and now it's the exact same thing with the remote economy. So for us, it was always normal to be on the internet, use social medias, and to live remote, actually. And now that's something that's becoming mainstream as well. And I think that's just something that came up in my mind.
Yeah, I think that's a very good statement. I'm not sure who said it. I think it was Winston Churchill who said, never let a good crisis go to waste. So this might be actually a good moment to start your own company or your own project. So that's a very good motivational boost for the end of the session.
Yes, exactly.
So for the real end, I have some rapid fire questions for you. I give you a choice of 2, maybe 3 options. And you just make one choice and quickly explain why you actually made that choice in one sentence. Are you ready?
Yes.
Baby boomers or Generation Z?
Generation Z, because they will bring innovation now.
Nice. Experience or expertise?
Experience, because you learn on the go and you can use that knowledge.
Absolutely. I think that's also what you're doing in all the different careers that you pursue. Reality or imagination?
Imagination, because you can use your imagination in reality and create something new.
Wealth or happiness?
Happiness.
That's an easy choice.
Yes.
Passion or discipline?
Passion, because with passion you can do everything. With passion you can do everything.
Nice. And the last one, podcast or radio?
Podcast.
Not surprising. Yeah, thank you so much again for the second episode. It was very insightful and fun to record it with you. And we wish you really all the best for the future projects, and also with Seam, all the best and lots of success.
Thank you very much. It was great.
Before you go, just a quick word from our sponsor.
Today's episode was brought to you by SBB Startup. The Swiss Railways recently launched their own startup program. If you think that your company or your idea is a good fit to the Swiss Railways, get in touch with them at sbbstartup.com.
Thank you for tuning into today's episode. Stay connected with the Swisspreneur community through our LinkedIn and Instagram profiles. Make sure to subscribe to our show on whatever podcast platform you're using. See you next week for a brand new episode of the Swisspreneur Show.